Hi everyone, so good to see all of you. Well, today I want to start with a quote. If we thatch ourselves too quickly from winter, we miss all of the music of storms. So when I think about what does this quote mean, it means that in order to really grow, we have to be willing to go through storms. And let's face it, lots of us have gone through a ton of storms. In fact, sometimes we feel like we've been blown and beaten against the wind and against the ship, and sometimes we're not sure if we are actually going to get through this without drowning, right? And so the music of storms, what is that all about? Well, it's the idea that we can realize in the midst of the storm that we can grow, and we anticipate growing and all of the benefits that are going to come from that growth. And so we don't panic when those things happen that are going to hurt, that are going to be pushing us out of our comfort zone, that are maybe going to be really uncomfortable, because we know in the long run we are going to be stronger people. We're going to be better for them. And so we're able to somehow hold them. So in my younger years, I got super frustrated and super discouraged and even had some depression over some things. And now I would say at this point in my career, I'm doing a little bit better job of holding that frustration, holding that discouragement, and at the same time holding this idea that, okay, I know even though I'm going through this right now, I'm going to grow from this. So I'm anticipating that it's going to be better in the long run, even though I don't really like how this storm is feeling right now. And so it can give you a lot of courage that you're going to make it through. We face all kinds of different storms as band directors. We face storms of administrators sometimes, we face storms of parents sometimes, or with students, or with ourselves even. I think one of the more challenging ones can sometimes be the band boosters, right? And I am so blessed because right now I have great band boosters and a ton of support, but it hasn't always been that way. I remember some years where I was embarrassed in band boosters meetings by parents that were rude to me. I remember after band boosters meetings wanting to hightail it out of there because there were some really rude parents that might just start yelling at me. I remember going to football games at times and being worried that I was going to be verbally attacked. And like I said, right now I have nothing like that. It's nothing like that at all. But there are times where you might go into a bad situation, or you might go into a situation where those band boosters wanted something else, wished for somebody else to come in and run that band program, and you came and you weren't what they wanted, or you weren't the old person that retired, and it's really hard. It's really, really hard. But I want you to take courage to know that just because it's that way right now doesn't mean it always will be. And that's something I've learned also as the years have gone by, is that just because you're in a bad situation right now does not mean it will always be that way. Just because you have a horrible schedule this year does not mean it will always be that way. One thing I've noticed is that if you continue to tell administrators how you feel, tell administrators how things are affecting you, and especially if you can give them ideas of how to do things differently, things can change. Now, it's not always going to change, and you have to realize at some point, okay, I can either accept this situation or I can go find a new gig. And it's absolutely acceptable for you to find a new gig if it's just not working, if there's just not support. That's just the way it is. But I do want to say, take hope, take heart that things can get better. And certainly with the band boosters, this is a huge issue. What you can do is, it's really important professionally that you build a tribe. And so that is a list of people that when you think of their name, you have additional energy, okay? And so I can think of parents that are on my tribe list. I can think of administrators that have been on my tribe list. And I can definitely think of friends and family that are on my tribe list. But I can also once in a while even think of a student. Every time I see that student, right, they give me joy, okay? Now, I love all of my students, don't get me wrong, but there are certain students that are on my tribe that actually ask me how I'm doing, right? And so that is an amazing thing. And if you can make a tribe list, then when you have those days of storms, those days where you realize these people really do see you as their enemy, even though you've not tried to do anything to make that happen, but for whatever reason they don't like you, or they're not encouraging to you, or they don't notice your efforts, you can go to that tribe list and you can be encouraged by spending time with those people. And I'd highly recommend that you do that in your personal life. Also, one of the things for me that I have is a girls club. We call it West Michigan Women's Band Directing Association. That's our fancy name, but it's really our girls club, and we're all band directors and all moms. And so when we have a bad day, we can go to that Facebook group and we can just say, hey, today really stunk for me and I need some support. Can you help me? And then my tribe rallies, right? And I can rally around other people when they've had bad days. And sometimes we get busy, so we pick up the slack of the others when we can, and then they pick up our slack sometimes when we can't. And don't be afraid to reach out to your colleagues and say, hey, do you want to build a group of people that can just be supportive through the hard parts? Sometimes you can face a storm with administrators, right? Some administrators really appreciate what you do, some don't. I've had both, and it's really wonderful if you can have an administrator that knows what you're doing and appreciates it, but you might not have that. And I would just say again, go to your tribe list. And if you have an administrator that never comes and visits, or only notices the negative, or doesn't really appreciate all the extra effort and the hours that you're putting in, you can go to that tribe list and you can spend time with them and be encouraged, okay? Another thing that I want to just point out is this. You can have storms that are within, right? Ideas that we put in our heads sometimes that, man, I can't do this, or I can't be the band director I wanted to be, or this is just way too hard and there's no way I can succeed. And I want to direct you to some really great information. There's a man by the name of James Clear. I highly recommend getting on his listserv. But he talks about this idea of 1% improvements. So whether it be in rehearsal, or in how messy your band room is, or how messy your desk is, maybe, or maybe there's other things, how we interact with administrators, how we interact with parents, or maybe you have a really tough student in your class. If you can kind of think of this idea of 1% improvements. So when you're practicing your festival music, aim for 1% improvements so that every day you're getting better and better and better. As we're preparing for festival, of course, we want to get that music in great shape. And sometimes there's not time to go back, and so you really have to up the level a lot before you can move on. But if we focus on just the big picture, it's really easy to get overwhelmed. Once we can think about, all right, how do we improve those accents by at least 1%? Well, we're all going to decay. Well, we're all going to put space before the accent so that we can hear that pop out. Well, we're going to actually teach our students how to form an accent, how we make our bodies change for an accent. For example, for accents, I have the kids put their fist right on their stomach and then say do and push it out, right? So we go do, and then you remind the kids of how to make those accents happen, okay? And by actually tangibly showing them how to do things, you're going to hear those improvements. So remember to aim for those small improvements, and they add up and add up and add up, and they're also going to add up for you. So maybe you're depressed, but maybe you can aim for a 1% improvement by saying, today I'm going to watch for 5 kids that are doing the right thing, and I'm going to point it out, and I'm going to watch them smile and light up when I point those things out, right? Or maybe I'm even going to find 10 today, okay? Or maybe I'm going to notice when that kid improved their tone, okay? So keep that in mind. Students can bring storms as well. Remember that most of the time those storms don't have to do with you. They have to do with what's going on in the rest of their lives. And so if you can just remember to keep loving them and work for those 1% improvements, right? And if something goes badly, because sometimes it does, sometimes we make a mistake, we push a kid too hard, and then we start beating ourselves up. But remember that kids are resilient. You can come around the back door and you can work out those things again. And most kids are pretty responsive to apologies and are very kind. And so if you mess up, just know that it's one day and you're building a resume over many, many years. And so keep in mind that's a fraction of 1% of your days. And if you can go the next day with hope and begin to rebuild, you can absolutely come back from it. So I hope that helps today. I hope that's encouraging. And remember, as you face those storms, we are in this together and you are loved, okay? Take care. Bye.